Very good. Good afternoon,
Afternoon.
everyone. I'm Paul Wiedefeld, Secretary of Transportation. Thank you, Colonel Butler, for hosting us here today. With me is obviously the governor, we'll get to in a minute, the county executive, Fitzwater, and then also our administrator, Will Pines, and Mike Sakata from the Maryland Transportation Builders and Materials Association. Before starting, though, I did want to recognize Dana Radcliffe, our district engineer back there from State Highway, because he's the one that has been moving all the snow out here, sir, since the last almost 2 months now out here, right, Daniel? So thank you, Daniel, for you and your entire team for the great work you're doing. I saw the equipment out front, and I know you work around the clock all the time, so thank you, sir. County Executive Fitzwater, wasn't, what, 2 months ago, 3 months ago? We're out here on the tour, and I think you had just about every citizen and every stakeholder in the entire county talking about one important project. And so we're thrilled to be here today. As you know, the governor's package last week basically funded the construction of 15. It's one of the most important projects from a safety standpoint. It's clearly one of the most important projects from a safety standpoint, reliability for people just doing what they do every day, and for economic development and supporting the economy of the state of Maryland. And obviously that has been the primary focus of the governor since he's come in office. So with that, I will now turn it over to the governor to preach more about what he's all doing here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a joy to be with you all. And first, Secretary Wiedefeld, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the continued leadership and focus and devotion to this work. I also want to thank our other partners for all the work that they continue to do on behalf of all Marylanders every single day. And that includes our fantastic county executive, Jessica Fitzwater, our superintendent of Department of State Police, Colonel Roland Butler. I want to thank you, sir, for all your outstanding leadership. Administrator Will Pines from the Maryland Highway Administration. Thank you, Will. And also President Mike Sakata from the Maryland Transportation Builders and Materials Association. Bless you, and thank you so much. And I also know one person I just want to give another special acknowledgement to, who is out there, and that's Delegate Karen Simpson for her fantastic work and advocacy on behalf of the people of Frederick. And also I see there, Mr. Mayor. It's great to see you as well. Great to see you as well. Last week, we did publicly announce our plans, and we also announced a proposed balanced state budget. And we understood that the challenges that we were facing when trying to deal with this budget were real and that they were longstanding. We understood that, that regardless for the reason, that we are now dealing with a historic fiscal crisis. One, we're seeing the largest fiscal crisis that this state has now seen in 2 decades, where the structural deficit that we are now dealing with is one that is very real and an obstacle that is not one to be underestimated. But we also knew this, is that heading into this situation and dealing with this crisis, this team was not going to flinch, and this team was not going to shirk away, that we were not going to kick the can down the road, that we had to make sure that we are still investing in the things that can help our state to grow. And that's exactly what we believe we have done with this budget. That this wasn't just about how can we address the issue of increased spending. This was about how to get our economy growing again. This was about how to make sure that Maryland is competing with not just its neighbors, but competing with every other state around the country where the anemic growth that our state is seeing is not just unacceptable, but unless it was addressed, it was just simply managing a decline. And we knew that one of the main ways you had to be able to promote economic growth was to have reliable, efficient, and safe transportation. That you cannot have economic mobility if you do not have safe and reliable physical mobility. That you cannot have a growing economy if your roads are not safe, that you cannot have a growing economy if your bridges and your tunnels are falling apart. That is why we have proposed an additional $420 million for state transportation funding annually, starting with this year's budget. That these investments aren't just good for our economy, but they're necessary for our people, and they're necessary for our communities. And we're here today along Route 15. This is one of the most important pathways for commerce in our state, and unfortunately, it's also one of the most dangerous. That in a county that is the fastest growing county of the state of Maryland, that we have seen just off of Route 15 from 2020 to 2023, there have been 574 crashes reported on a 3-mile stretch. 574 crashes reported in a 3-mile stretch over a 3-year period between I-70 and Liberty Road here in Maryland. This stat is not just heartbreaking. It's 574 families, 574 communities being hit, 574 unnecessary crashes along one of our interstates. That number alone fails to capture the real toll of these incidences. It's the hospital visits, it's the stress and trauma. It fails to capture the grief of also then speaking to families whose loved one did not make it home. And we will not accept that, because we have been very clear in this administration that keeping Marylanders safe is our #1 priority, and that includes safe on our state's roads. So through these investments, we will both meet the public safety mission and also ensure that our economy is growing and thriving in this region and also beyond. Because I want to be clear, the solutions that we are calling for are things that everyone should be able to get behind, regardless of your party, regardless of your region. Everyone should root for Maryland's economic growth. Everyone should root for Marylanders' safety. Everyone should root to make sure that Marylanders can go from where they live to where they work, or where they live to where they worship, knowing that they can do it in a safe fashion. We're saying this: let's fix the potholes so it's easier for trailers and trucks to haul cargo along the state highways. We're saying let's address highway capacity on busy roads so workers don't have to wait in traffic to get from where they live to where opportunity lies. We're saying let's work across the aisle and across the state to prioritize basic highway safety so that Marylanders can pick up their groceries or drop off their kids without worrying about going to a place that has historically been dangerous. And that work will start right here in Frederick, because today we are proud to announce that my proposed budget includes funding for Route 15. This $160 million project will add a third lane in each direction to improve safety and increase capacity. It's going to make Maryland safer, and it's going to make Maryland more competitive. And Frederick is at the center of our aspirations for Maryland. So it's appropriate that we start here. This is a community that's looking to the horizon and understands that Maryland can and should do big things. So Frederick, all eyes are on you. And they've been for a while, because you guys are growing like a weed. It's pretty amazing. But I also know that with that growth, while exciting, it also is a double-edged sword that we also have to address. That we know that more commerce is flowing through Frederick, and that's a really good thing. But if you increase traffic on a 2-lane highway that wasn't built for that kind of volume, you can and you will run into trouble. Because big trucks are causing wear and tear on the road. Increased volume is driving congestion. The safety of Marylanders suffers because of these actions. So by making this investment, we're addressing both parts of the equation. We're saying that when you have a jurisdiction that is growing, there's only 2 things you can do. You can either say, stop growing, or you can actually support the growth and let it happen in a way that is safe and manageable. And in this administration, we're choosing to do the latter. We're going to ensure that we can keep pace with the growing demands of our growing economy, and we are going to make sure that Marylanders are safe. So our proposal also leads with a basic decency. We want to limit environmental impact and install sound barriers to mitigate noise in key areas along this route. This plan will bolster growth, enhance safety, and defend the integrity of our surrounding communities. And we are proud of this important step forward. And I want to thank all of our partners in ensuring that not just this happened, but that it gets across the finish line in the final budget. And I do want to say thank you to all those who have been fighting for this for years. I want to be clear, this was not our idea. This was not something new. The members of this community have been fighting for this for decades. Have been fighting to say that we still have a Route 15 that is not safe and we have to address it. That we still have a major commercial channel and a major commercial artery that is being neglected. That we have Marylanders who are losing unnecessarily because we haven't made the investments. This is not new. This demand has been here for a while. But I want the people of Frederick and I want the people of Maryland to know this, that we've heard you, that we see you, that we're going to invest in you. And in this moment and in this time, Route 15 will get done. And so I'm honored to be here with each and every one of you and honored to be able to turn the microphone over to a person who's, without her leadership as well, we would not be standing here today making this announcement. And I'm thankful to have such a wonderful champion and warrior as a partner inside this work. Frederick's County Executive, Jessica Fitzwater.
This is a great day in Frederick County and for the state of Maryland. Thank you all so much for being here. It is truly a privilege to stand today with Governor Westmore to announce funding for Frederick County's top transportation priority, state investments in US 15 safety improvements and congestion relief. As you all know, Frederick County is a politically diverse jurisdiction. My colleagues in city and county and municipal government and our state delegation run the gamut from the most progressive of Democrats to the most conservative of Republicans. But for over a decade, we have all agreed on one thing, that something has to be done to make US 15 safer for our community and, in fact, for the entire region. The governor stated some statistics about the number of crashes that have occurred on just this small stretch. But in preparing for today, I was talking to our folks at the Division of Fire and Rescue Services, and just during a 20-month period, December of 2022 to August of 2024, our folks with the Division of Fire and Rescue Services transported a total of 146 patients to the hospital with injuries received in accidents on US 15 between that same 3-mile stretch of road, I-70, to Maryland 26, Liberty Road. These numbers matter because these are our neighbors, these are our employees and our employers, and these are folks that have chosen Maryland and Frederick County to call home. So when we continued our advocacy for US 15, and the Secretary and I have had many conversations about this, and he's heard us, and the governor has heard us, we said we have to do better. And so in his FY26 budget, Governor Moore not only put the funding back, but offered a plan to cut taxes on Maryland's working families while meeting the needs of communities like ours. That is a big, hard thing to do, but the budget does it. So in crafting his transportation budget, he focused on highway safety. So families like those of the 146 patients transported by our DFRS folks never have to get the call that a loved one is on the way to the hospital after a car accident. The investment announced today will improve driver safety improve the flow of traffic in both directions during rush hour. And in Frederick, we know it's kind of always rush hour in that 3-mile stretch of 15. So we are just so excited to see that this bipartisan priority of not only our elected officials, but our entire community is finally back in the CTP, and we are going to fight like hell, am I allowed to say that, during the General Assembly to make sure that that funding stays, because this is too important for the future of Frederick County and for the future of the state of Maryland. I want to recognize a few folks that are here because, as the governor says, everything that we do is done in partnership. And the only way that we can continue to make progress for our community, for Frederick County, for the state of Maryland, is to do it in partnership. And we have Council President Brad Young here on the Frederick County Council, as well as Council members Jerry Donald and MC Keegan-Air, who have been also fighting for years to see this expansion coming to US 15. Mayor O'Connor from the City of Frederick is here, and City Council members Kelly Russell and Derek Shackelford. I think you're the only ones I see. This has been a joint priority for the city and the county for many, many years, and we are all in this together, Team Frederick and Team Maryland. I'm looking forward to working with Governor Moore, with the Secretary, and all of our partners in the Maryland General Assembly, including Delegate Simpson, who is here, to retain the design funding allocated in this year's budget and continue to see the investment in construction of this safety improvement project until we see it through to its completion. I also want to recognize our district engineer, Andrew Radcliffe, from the District 7 office. Yeah, he deserves a round of applause. Not only for, of course, these last several weeks where we've had snow and his coordination with our highway team in Frederick County and all of our municipal teams as well, but he has really been a leader in pushing for this safety project, especially after the tanker incident, which was a high-profile and really devastating incident for so many families and for our community. So, Andrew, thank you for your leadership. And before I close, I also want to thank SHA Administrator Will Pines for his dedicated service. Also, he's extremely good at explaining very complex transportation things so that everybody can understand them, from every constituent that shows up to every meeting to those of us in elected office. So we appreciate your knowledge and your advocacy as well. So it is my pleasure to turn it over now to Administrator Pines.
Thank you. Well, thank you, County Executive. I also want to echo my gratitude to my team who really helped to position us to be here today. Eric Marabello with our team Advancing Design, Andrew, the district engineer, and so many others who helped to contribute for us to be here. I also just really want to say thank you to our state, Frederick County, City of Frederick, and industry partners who have helped us as we've worked to restore the funding, thanks to the governor, for the construction of the safety and capacity improvements along the 3 miles of US 15, US 40, between north of I-70 up to Liberty Road. We recognize how critical this project is for the community. The project will improve safety and mobility along the corridor while supporting interstate commerce and the economic growth of so much of Maryland. At SHA, our goal every day is to provide reliable and safe highway facilities for all of our users. And this project will support a wide range of mobility needs, from essential freight movements to supporting the daily commutes of major economic generators and employment hubs such as Fort Detrick. Frederick County is on the move, and this project will help bolster growth with a highway system that supports it. We anticipate the completion of this project will have a significant impact on the quality of life of those that live in and around Frederick, and even those who just are traveling through. The long-needed safety and capacity improvements in this section of US 15 seeks to reduce the number of crashes and address congestion along the corridor. This project will include, as was mentioned by our governor, an additional 3rd lane in each direction of US 15. It will reconstruct 7 aging structures along the corridor and provide noise mitigation through sound walls in key areas along the corridor. The safety improvements will focus on enhancing traffic operations by improving weave, merge, and diverging vehicular movements, And these enhancements will provide safer transitions in areas where vehicles enter and exit the highway and merge into traffic. As we know, US 15 is a hot spot for vehicular conflicts and crashes. We observe higher crash rates along this corridor than the statewide averages, and our safety analysis forecasts that this project will help to reduce crashes by 46%, or more than 50 crashes per year. But these aren't just stats, as the county executive mentioned. We know that roadway safety, in alignment with the state's Vision Zero goal, are necessary because real people are harmed by these crashes. The SHA team experienced this firsthand back in 2023 when we responded to the tanker explosion, where tragically one individual lost their life, a home was lost, and several others were negatively impacted right here on this US 15 corridor. Additionally, beyond the safety benefits, the capacity improvements will support congestion relief and improve traffic flow along the corridor, enabling motorists and truck traffic to move more efficiently to reach where they want to go. The safety and capacity improvements included in this project seek to reduce crashes while also modernizing the current infrastructure to prevent future tragedies. I want to thank Governor Moore and Secretary Wiedefeld for recognizing the importance of this project to us and providing the necessary funding in the governor's budget to see the project through. Thank you, and now I'll turn it over to my friend, Mike Sakata of the Maryland Transportation Builders and Materials Association.
Good afternoon, Governor Moore, Secretary Wiedefeld, County Executive, and friend Will Pines. Sir, thank you. To all of our state and local leaders here who are with us today, it is truly an honor to join you for this momentous announcement. And I'm proud to stand here today as the president of Maryland Transportation Builders and Materials Association, which serves as the principal voice for the transportation industry. The companies and workers I represent are literally building Maryland's future. They're resurfacing our roads, expanding our highways, building new bridges, and preserving our rail lines. Their work saved lives and supports good-paying jobs in every part of the state. Governor Moore, on behalf of the proud men and women of MTBMA, I'm here to say thank you. Thank you for truly hearing us when we said our failing infrastructure poses an immediate threat to our lives, livelihood, and quality of life. Thank you for making a public commitment to our safer roads, bridges, interchanges, and rail lines. And Governor, thank you for backing up that commitment with the significant investment to modernize our transportation network and restore it to a state of good repair. First and foremost, the government's responsibility is to keep people safe. And in this moment, portions of Maryland's transportation system isn't safe. Our roads and bridges are old, they're outdated, and unable to keep up with today's needs, as we've heard today. 49% of our roads and highways are in poor condition, and over 46% of the bridges are at least 50 years old. Nowhere are these unsafe conditions more evident than US Route 15, which over time has become one of Maryland's most dangerous and congested corridors. Governor Moore, you heard the collective concerns of everyone here this afternoon, and as a result of the widening of Route 15, which had been deferred due to lack of money, is now back in the transportation budget. And the same is true as particularly dangerous stretch of road, I-81 in Washington County, as well as other vital life-saving projects across the state. As a result of his leadership and that of Secretary Wiedefeld, Marylanders will have a safer commute to jobs, products will be better connected to markets, tourists will be better connected to their destinations, and families will be able to spend more time together and less time in traffic. Maryland will have a safe, modern, 21st century transportation system, one which is worthy of the best state in the country, and one capable of supporting a thriving, technology-powered economy. MTBMA stands in support of the governor's transportation initiative and will do whatever is necessary to ensure its passage by the General Assembly. Thank you for have him here today.
Thank you, Michael. That concludes our presentation. Be glad to take any questions that you might have.
Couple of questions not related to the topic, I'm sorry. Governor, yesterday was a complicated day for the immigrant community. We know that President Trump has his sights on sanctuary cities. We also know that they deported more than 230,000 undocumented immigrants living in Maryland, many sanctuary cities in Maryland too. What is your stand on sanctuary cities right now, and what would you say to our immigrant community? My name is Rosmarie Quiñones, Telemundo 44 in DC.
Thank you so much. And you know, this is not just an important issue. It's a very personal issue. You know, I come from an immigrant family. I was raised by an immigrant single mother. And so the importance of how we're thinking about and respecting our immigrant community is something that is not just it's not just important. It's one of the things that continues to make Maryland so strong. And it really is an important part of our fabric and our backbone. You know, we are continuing to go through now the various executive orders that were laid out yesterday. The two things that I would ask Marylanders to remember in all of this is one is that we will support and protect Marylanders. And while we will always make sure that we are going to follow the laws, we are always going to make sure that Marylanders are protected in all of this. The second thing that I would say to all Marylanders is, you know, while we're still in the process of going through all of the executive orders that were signed yesterday, it should not be lost to any Marylander that today I'm in Frederick talking about road safety. And that today I was just with the county executive talking about school construction. And that just today we are talking about our plans to put millions of dollars into Catoctin, which is a juvenile facility, to be able to help support our youth, particularly our most troubled youth that is here in Frederick. And so our eyes are on the ball. We are going to make sure that we are focusing on growing our economy. We're going to focus on protecting Marylanders and protecting Marylanders of their rights and their constitutional rights. And so it's important that not just all Marylanders, but this new administration understands that as well.
And you are talking about resources put into different areas. Any plans for resources towards legal advice for these families? Many of them have American citizen children who they may be left alone in Maryland if they're ICE carry mass deportations or mass raids in the state.
Yeah, so in Maryland, I mean, we're actually very proud of the levels of support that we have for the immigrant community that we have in place. We work very closely with our local leadership. We work very closely with our nonprofit community, with our faith-based community. So in Maryland already, we actually have a very strong foundation in ways that we support the immigrant community. You know, as I said, we will always make sure that we will follow the laws here in the state of Maryland. We're also not going to do things that are unlawful in our state, and that includes, that's one of the reasons why we're currently sifting through the collection of executive orders that are coming through as well.
One more for NBC4, just regarding Commanders.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about the Commanders?
I hope they make the Super Bowl. Yes, I think the Commanders are looking really good, you know, and especially in this point in the football season, the teams that advance are the teams that are hot, the teams that are healthy, and the teams that don't make mistakes. And truthfully, that kind of sounds like the Washington Commanders right now. Now, I like to think that the reason they're so successful is because they play in Maryland. And I hope they don't forget that either. But I think the team is looking really good. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles, you know, while they have a very good offensive line and Saquon Barkley is playing as good a football as anybody in the NFL right now, when you match up against a team that is hot, healthy, and doesn't make mistakes, it makes you very, very difficult to beat. So I think the Washington Commanders have as good a shot as anybody at this point to not just make the Super Bowl, but I think be pretty successful. And we plan on throwing them a fantastic celebratory parade in the state of Maryland.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.